tonight on America in Black.
It does not matter what your notoriety is, what your fame is. We are going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
Superstar rapper Young Thug faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted of being a gang leader. Part of the evidence, some of the rapper's own lyrics.
That is the new racism. We're going to take the lyrics and actually put them in the court system as confessions.
You don't see this happening in any other genre of music.
And it is bigger than Young Thug's case.
I kind of just rolled over and just let them play me.
Skylar Henry investigates rap lyrics on trial. Plus,
Shame on you! Shame on you! You're teaching children to hate others because of their skin color.
the calls to ban critical race theory in K-12 classrooms continue to grow louder in school districts across the country.
Propaganda, when it involves issues of race, is always going to be very effective.
Is the outrage just an attack on the truth?
If a student to pass a test has to agree with the fact that America is systemically racist or structurally racist.
Where is that happening?
Mark Lamont Hill exposes the war on black history. And she is a Hollywood sensation, more than 4 decades in the making.
I just have to thank God for, putting me in this place.
Emmy award-winning actor Sheryl Lee Ralph talks about her recent red-hot success.
It's validation, it's affirming.
And opens up about her past struggles in Hollywood.
This producer looked at me, he said, "You're just not black enough."
What kept you going? Was it
Entertainment Tonight's Nichelle Turner gets personal with the actor and singer. And Comedy Central's Roy Wood Jr. drops the mic on a new approach to police reform, saving money. All this and more tonight on America in Black.
Welcome to the premiere episode of America in Black. I'm Mark Lamont Hill. We're so glad you're here with us as we bring you the most compelling stories about Black America. And we want to start with a story about history, specifically Black history. If you've been paying attention, you know that there has been a growing movement to limit the discussion of racism and Black history in America's schools. In January, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis blocked an advanced placement pilot course in African American studies from being taught in his state. And in February, when the course was finalized, key elements of the curriculum had been dropped. As I discovered, in many southern states, like South Carolina, the concerted war on Black history is far from over. In fact, many believe it has only just begun.
Today we were going to start with the Harlem Renaissance. In what ways can culture be used as a form of resistance?
It's 2:35 in Daniel Soderstrom's advanced placement class.
They still are depending on the music and their religion to kind of help build their culture.
AP courses in biology and history have been around for decades, but to some, this particular AP course is controversial. Ridgeview High School in Columbia, South Carolina, is one of the few public schools in the country to offer a new advanced placement class in African American studies.
It's an interdisciplinary course, and the reason that we don't focus just on history is because examples of Black excellence are found everywhere in our society.
Senior Amari Hunt signed up to take the new AP class minutes after she heard about it.
Everybody deserves to be represented. And for a long time, Black Americans, they haven't gotten to know their history. Seeing people who look like you, who talk like you, who act like you, being brave, strong, confident, and loving themselves and loving being Black, it really does wonders for your self-image.
How does the culture from Louisiana...
But in the run-up to last year's midterm elections, this course and other classes that discussed America's racial history became the target of angry, and let's just say it, mainly white parents across the country.
I'll be damned if I will allow a Marxist revolution to take place in this country, and we need to reject our children even being taught it.
The rallying cry was against critical race theory, an academic framework for understanding how racism has shaped America. The fact that CRT is almost exclusively studied in college didn't stop many from using it to attack public school curriculums.
The anti-critical race theory campaigns really started as an anti-1619 Project campaign.
Nicole Hannah-Jones is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist for The New York Times and creator of the 1619 Project, a series of articles and book that examines America through the lens of slavery and how it still impacts the country today.
A lot of Americans are truly shocked by the arguments of the 1619 Project. We also are a country that is deeply wedded to our mythology, and that's predicated on silencing a lot of our history, and particularly what this nation did to African people.
The publication of the 1619 Project in 2019 ignited a fierce backlash that only intensified in the summer of 2020, when in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, Americans took to the streets calling for racial justice.
That required a response from conservatives who felt that we can't have that level of critique of structural inequality and leave it unanswered. And so you see, by the end of that year, the rise on Fox News of this thing called critical race theory.
They're teaching CRT.
They fund these courses. They fund these classrooms. They fund these school districts.
Propaganda, when it involves issues of race, is always going to be very effective. And then you combine the emotion of schools with the emotion of race. And there's few things that are more powerful to create that divide.
Those parents at the school board, the people who are saying, not in my town, why do they find that argument persuasive?
Because now you have parents who are not just being tapped into their racial anxiety, but their anxiety about their children being harmed.
You're teaching children to hate others because of their skin color.
Since January of 2021, a total of 44 states have signed into law or proposed legislation banning the teaching of so-called critical race theory. And in South Carolina, where we visited, an anti-CRT bill prohibits teaching concepts that show an individual, by virtue of his race or sex, is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive. While this bill failed to pass, Republican politicians in that state are using the budgeting process to strip funding from schools with race-related lesson plans.
So in a nutshell, they're saying that people are teaching white children that they should feel bad because they were the oppressors during slavery. If anyone has been made to feel bad about their history, I believe it's Black students.
You gotta body up now.
Crystal Matthews is the mother of 5 children who attend public school in the state. She's also a former member of the South Carolina House of Representatives.
I do believe there should be truth in education, and sometimes truth is ugly. Everything is not gonna be comfortable, and that's okay. But what are we teaching our children if we teach them that every situation they go into has to be a comfortable one?
There's an argument that there are curricula out there that are trying to kind of smuggle in some agenda. Is there evidence of this stuff?
I haven't found any evidence of it.
But the lack of evidence hasn't stopped many right-wing activists from issuing a call to action.
Are we going to start taking over these school boards?
Absolutely, we're going to take over the school board.
Backed by the conservative activist group Moms for Liberty, in November, 6 new members flipped control of the South Carolina school district where Crystal Matthews' kids are enrolled. Within hours of being sworn in, they voted to fire the first Black superintendent and ban critical race theory in the classroom.
I make the motion to terminate the employment of Mr. Dion Jackson, the superintendent of the Berkeley County School District, effective immediately.
I was angry as a parent.
We're still trying to figure out what the mess and all the chaos is about, because historically, Black families have been the group that has been navigating the public education system, truly fighting for things that benefit our children.
A.J. Davis has a son who attends public school in South Carolina. He's also a founder of a local Black Parents Association.
And regardless of what you may feel as legislators, teachers are not indoctrinating students.
You have teachers that have been besieged by these Moms for Liberty members. You've got a lot of teachers leaving.
When we're using all kinds of terminology like woke or CRT, that just doesn't seem to be happening here.
Kathleen Lowe has taught in South Carolina public schools for more than 20 years. She's seen firsthand the weaponization of phrases like woke and CRT in her community.
I've never been aware of that phrase or what that meant until it kind of came up through the political cycle here that we had a few months ago.
And after gaining control, school board members in many districts in South Carolina and elsewhere have banned books that they deem explicit. In the last year alone, over 300 books by predominantly Black authors discussing race, gender, and sexuality were banned by school districts nationwide. With over 200 chapters, Moms for Liberty is behind the majority of these efforts.
There are conversations that need to be had around what is age appropriate for children in America, and parents need to be a part of that conversation.
We reached out to Moms for Liberty to better understand their objections to discussions of race and racism in the classroom. They declined our repeated requests for an interview. There are people who will say, even if we should be talking about race and gender and sexuality in schools, not in first grade, not in second grade, it's just too young.
The unfortunate truth is that kids are actually experiencing and understanding race even earlier than first and second grade. And so if we're not actively teaching our children to not judge a book by its cover, to not think that someone who is darker is meaner, then what are they ultimately going to believe?
Ibram X. Kendi is a #1 New York Times best-selling author of 5 books for adults and 3 for children. How to Be an Anti-Racist and Stamped from the Beginning are among the most banned books in America from the last few years.
We don't say, you know what, let's actually not talk about cancer, because that's how we eliminate it. But for whatever reason, when it comes to racism, there are people who imagine that the way we eliminate this devastating structural problem is through ignoring it.
We do not have systemic, structural, or institutional racism.
Mike Gonzalez is a senior fellow with the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank that provides model legislation for states to reject CRT. Is it possible to teach about systemic racism and not be teaching CRT?
No.
So then for you, any conversation about racism in society is critical race theory?
No, I think it should be taught what people have actually said in history, in intellectual history. What you could not have, in my opinion, is compelled speech.
Where are people compelling speech?
If you say, if a student has to pass a test, has to agree with the fact that America is systemically racist.
Where has that happened?
Well, Mark, there are many, you can go to many, I can actually email you stuff.
But can you name one place where that's happened?
Where it's, I don't know where there is actually a test.
We asked, but Gonzalez never sent any evidence to back up his claims. And when it comes to the Advanced Placement African American Studies curriculum, he objects to the inclusion of black political activists like Angela Davis, a key figure in the feminist and prison abolition movement.
You know, her background, she's a communist, she ran on the Communist Party ticket.
Does that mean she shouldn't be taught?
No, but that means that we shouldn't look at black history through her lens.
But let's look at it through her lens only.
No.
So we have history classes, for example, that have included people like Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
One could look at Thomas Jefferson and say he had racist ideals. Does that mean we shouldn't teach him?
Well, you have to look at the whole man. If you ask me,
well, what about Angela Davis? We can't look at Angela Davis, the whole woman? Jefferson owned slaves.
Jefferson did other great things, like write the Declaration.
Angela Davis has done great things.
No, I disagree with that. I don't think she's done anything good.
This is an unlawful arrest.
The fight over what's taught in our nation's schools is far from over. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the projected GOP frontrunner for president in 2024, has made his war against black history a pillar of his agenda.
We want education, not indoctrination.
Last month, DeSantis banned AP African American Studies from all Florida public schools, claiming it lacks educational value. South Carolina student Amari Hunt disagrees.
It's unlike anything I've ever experienced before. The knowledge that you gain from it, the sense of culture and understanding, I think that's significant in building relationships between people.
I hate to be the person to say it like that, but there are certain people who don't give a damn about kids of color. They just don't. If you don't go to school board meetings, I just want to make a plea out there that if you have kids, you need to go. Having that representation, only to have it stripped from underneath our feet with no good reason given, is heartbreaking to watch. But I urge people to still go, still fight, still show up. That energy matters in the room.
Coming up next,
they know I'm the bomb.
An overnight star 4 decades in the making.
I always believed that that person had what it took to make it.
Plus, rap lyrics on trial.
They can't just use rap lyrics against us in court. You don't see this happening in any other, genre of music.
And Roy Wood Jr. with his mic drop when America in Black continues in a moment.
Welcome back to America in Black. I'm Entertainment Tonight host Nichelle Turner. It's no secret that Hollywood has not always been a welcoming place for black actors, young and old, and few know this truth better than Sheryl Lee Ralph. On stage and screen, the actress's beauty and talent has always been undeniable. But it has taken more than 4 decades as an actor for Hollywood to fully appreciate her remarkable talent And with her recent and historic Emmy win, as she puts it, the underdog is now on top.
Lift every voice I see.
On perhaps the nation's biggest stage, the Super Bowl, there she stood, singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black national anthem.
I just have to thank God for putting me in this place, in this space, at this time, because all I have ever been is myself, and all I am being is myself.
Do you recognize that we're having a Sheryl Lee Ralph moment?
There are things that happen to me that let me realize that something is very different right now.
The 66-year-old actress has spent a lifetime on stage and screen, but suddenly now finds herself enjoying a profound and surprising late career star turn.
It's sort of confirmation, it's validation, it's affirming, but most of all, it is loving. And I'm very happy to be able to be on the receiving end of such genuine love for people.
I want to go back. I want to rewind back to when you first began, your first real break in Hollywood. Was it 1977? You were in A Piece of the Action with Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
I didn't start that. I was minding my own business, playing her game.
At the time, Ralph was just 19 years old, the daughter of a professor and fashion designer. She had split her time growing up in Jamaica and Long Island before landing her first movie role alongside the Hollywood icon.
Mr. Poitier was always a kind man. He was always a generous man, and he taught me so much about the industry at that whole month we spent together shooting A Piece of the Action. And when I left, he had one of the makeup artists give me a kit with everything that I was going to need to be able to do me in this industry well, because he said, there's so many things that are not there for you yet, and you deserve more. I will never forget that, his caring nature for me as an artist.
Several years passed before Ralph landed her next big break, cast as a lead in the hit Broadway musical Dreamgirls. On stage, the musical was a hit, but behind the scenes, she struggled to enjoy the success.
You've got all kind of people telling you who you are and what you should be sounding like, what you should be wearing, that I lost control. Yeah. And in losing control, the only thing I had control of was me. So I stopped eating. We didn't know that, was a mind game. We didn't know what it was, back in the 80s, but we now know and call it anorexia. But I actually had power over myself, and they couldn't make me eat. But I tell you, to this day, I love and appreciate my parents. Because one day I opened that stage door, and my parents were standing right outside, and they put me in that car, and they took me away, and they say, you're gonna get better. I love my parents to this day.
Even after the success of Dreamgirls, roles were hard to come by.
One time, this producer looked at me as they fired me from this pilot, and when I asked why, he said, you're just not black enough. I said,
right, let me look again.
Right. I'm not black enough? I guess they wanted a different kind of black. He said, don't get me wrong, you're a great actress, but you're just not black enough. But then years later, I'm sitting on the set with Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro looks at me, and in between shots, and he says, you're a damn good actress, but you gotta wave the red flag. You gotta climb that mountain and let them know that you're there, because Hollywood is not looking for the black girl.
Ralph faced many days when she thought about giving up. What kept you going? Was it those Robert De Niro moments or those other moments where I am good, I am talented, when it's just not in front of you?
It's always in front of you. It is always right there in the mirror. It is always about what you see. It is always about what you truly believe about that person. And I always believed that that person had what it took to make it, no matter what anybody else said.
There you go. Rush, rush,
Smooches.
rush. I get the best daughters on TV, I tell you.
After starring in the 1990 sitcom Moesha, Ralph once again went years without work until a chance encounter sparked something within her.
Taking my daughter to school one day, and a big casting director, her daughter went there and she passed me on the stairs. She says, "What are you doing?" And I was kind of embarrassed and to say, you know, well, I wasn't really doing much. My agent had retired and I was, you know, just waffling in the industry and having those thoughts of maybe it's quitting time. And I told her I wasn't really working, and she said, I'm sorry, but do you know who you are? She said, well, the only reason you're not working is because you don't want to work. She said, let me know when you're ready to work. And she made some suggestions, and hey, I got back on the right track.
That track led her to a meeting with a relatively unknown young writer named Quinta Brunson.
Oh my God. I tell people all the time, she may be tiny, but Quinta Brunson is mighty, mighty.
Yes, she is.
And she has saved and changed my life.
Years after that initial meeting, Brunson reached out to Ralph.
I get a phone call, Miss Ralph. They're sleeping on your talent, but I'm not sleeping on you.
Brunson offered her a role in a fictional public school comedy called Abbott Elementary. Ralph stars as the veteran teacher Mrs. Barbara Howard in the ABC hit show.
Janine, that performance was on point. Oh, and they say you Penn students can't step.
Wait, who says that?
Abbott Elementary.
The show has won a mountain of awards. And in 2022, Sheryl Lee Ralph became the first Black woman in 35 years to win an Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. When taking the stage, she began singing a verse from Diane Reeves' Endangered Species.
I am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am here to tell you that this is what believing looks like. This is what striving looks like. And don't you ever give up on you.
On Emmy night, I know you were speaking to the masses.
Yeah.
But I felt a little bit like it was an audience of one, like you were talking to me and to us. Were you trying to convey a message to Black women?
Let me tell you something. You got to love you. When they call you queen, that is because for the first time in a long time, you are being recognized for what you truly are. Queen, act like it, believe it, be it. Queen for your family, queen for your community, queen for the people that you love. And always remember, they may ignore the queen, but you are still the queen.
Coming up next, rap lyrics on trial.
That is the new racism. We're gonna take the lyrics and actually put them in the court system as confessions.
And Roy Wood Jr. with his mic drop when America in Black continues in a moment.
Welcome back to America in Black. I'm CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry. 2023 marks the 50th anniversary of the birth of hip-hop. The art of rap originated in the Bronx and has always featured braggadocious rhymes and, in some cases, against the life. But in a controversial move, prosecutors are presenting rap lyrics as evidence in criminal trials. They say the investigations don't start with examining the lines, but are used after an alleged crime is committed. Most recently, this tactic is being used in the prosecution of chart-topping rapper Young Thug, who's facing up to 20 years in prison, accused of being the ringleader of a violent street gang. His high-profile case, and others like it, have raised questions about artistic freedom, racism, in our criminal justice system. Grammy award-winning rapper Young Thug's track Take It to Trial is now playing out.
The most dangerous man here is Jeffrey Williams.
Inside a real courtroom. The Atlanta-based rapper, whose real name is Jeffrey Williams, is the headliner in a gang conspiracy trial. With multiple #1 hits and certified platinum and gold records alongside stars like Drake, Chris Brown, and Camila Cabello, the 31-year-old's career was booming. But last year in May, it came to a halt.
The rapper was arrested Monday on 56-count racketeering indictment.
It does not matter what your notoriety is, what your fame is. If you come to Fulton County, Georgia, and you commit crimes, we are going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis charged Young Thug, fellow high-profile rapper Gunna, and 26 other associates, alleging that their Young Stoner Life record label is actually a violent gang called Young Slime Life.
It is our allegation that they operated as a criminal street gang and commenced to do havoc in our community.
Prosecutors argued Williams is YSL's leader, and he's been in jail ever since, sometimes in solitary confinement. And in a controversial move, the artist's own lyrics were introduced in court as evidence of his guilt.
Hey, this is that slime. Hey, YSL. Hey.
While some of those indicted pled guilty, including Gunna, Young Thug has maintained his innocence and is taking his case to trial. And as high-profile supporters argue, his prosecution goes beyond just an attack on artistic freedom.
That is the new racism, the hidden racism. We're going to take the lyrics and actually put them in the court system as confessions.
Kevin Liles is the former president of Def Jam Records and is currently the CEO of 300 Entertainment, home to stars like Megan Thee Stallion, Fetty Wap, and Mary J. Blige. Liles signed Williams to his record label in 2014 and emotionally defended him in court during a bond hearing last year.
But I personally got to know him over the last 10 years.
Who's Jeffrey Williams?
Jeffrey Williams is a father, a son, a philanthropist, a leader. He's someone who said, the ship can't just be me, let me build something for other people.
Liles argues that rap lyrics suggesting a crime should not be read in court as confessions, like these bars from Young Thug's song Just How It Is, that ended up in the indictment.
I done did the robbing, I done did the jacking, now I'm full rapping.
Is that a confession?
A confession of what?
He did the robbing, he did the jacking.
What robbing?
He says it.
What I think he was portraying is that I did everything I had to do to survive. Now I'm rapping.
The idea is to mislead the jurors, and that you take lyrics from one song, unrelated, different date, different times, different purpose, and tie them together with something else.
Legal scholar Kristen Henning runs the Juvenile Justice Clinic at Georgetown Law and believes that hip-hop culture is being unfairly targeted.
Rap lyrics, to be clear, are being used because of the narrative that the prosecutor wants to tell the jury. It's all a part of the demonization of this black male who's on trial. It's about appealing to the fears of the jury. If you've got enough evidence to bring that case, then bring the case without it.
Prosecutors say lyrics aren't the key piece of evidence, but can be relevant to their charges. Since 1991, researchers have found more than 500 instances where hip-hop lyrics were used in criminal court cases. At least 20 of those cases were prosecuted in Contra Costa County in Northern California.
No regrets.
One of those cases involved rapper DeAndre Mitchell, known as Laz the Boy.
When you learn from mistakes and you know different, and if you never do, then there's no difference.
In 2012, Mitchell was indicted and charged with being an accomplice to 2 shootings, and his lyrics were presented to a grand jury, saying he allegedly participated because of gang loyalty. Authorities said the 30s in this line
The 50-round dick from the 30s to the 6, but we all with it.
references a gang territory on the south side of Richmond, California.
Richmond gang affiliation?
Is that right?
Nope. Like I said, that's like representing your football team, so we just represent our community.
Halston Williams, who's known as Doc Dalla, and Idris Jamerson, or Dreesy Bo, also say their music was taken out of context by prosecutors in the same county.
Do you think lyrics should be used at all, or could you see an instance where it could be brought up?
Nah, not really. I mean, because you can't say what somebody was thinking when they wrote it.
Dreesy's rap videos were used to add a gang enhancement with a firearm possession charge.
I was a kid. They was using videos when I was 15.
I'm with the murder team, so we on some smirky shit. Send them straight to
I was 19 when I got caught with the gun.
And Doc Dalla's social media, album art, and lyrics were used by prosecutors to allege he was a pimp and human trafficker.
Them holy snakes and cobras, poison I don't want her, unless she posting up and wait for call out on the counter.
While serving time, all three took plea deals for some of the charges and are now felons.
I kind of just rolled over and just let them play me, because I really took the worst possible. I got a strike and like for my first ever gun, like as an adult, so.
I was gonna fight it. Would I take 8 months right now or fight this and I'm finna go do 10 years? Give me this 8 months, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
I can't speak to any specific cases here in Contra Costa County.
Dinah Becton is Contra Costa County's district attorney. Though she wasn't involved in these specific cases, she's committed to making sure future prosecutions include lyrics with proper context.
We want to make sure that if rap lyrics are to be used, that really there is a strong nexus between that evidence and the crime that is being alleged.
Rental properties and bond trading stocks, 1,000 a pop a pull that up off the lot.
The rappers say street life isn't their only reality, but a popular and profitable reflection of what fans and record labels want.
Is there pressure when you're writing for other artists to portray a certain lifestyle that they may not be living? For sure, yeah. I don't specifically like sit and think about going to drill and jump out of cars and kill, but guess what? They want the type of songs. If y'all were to do like a percentage of real versus fake, I'm gonna let one of y'all go first.
I'm going 80 fake and 20% real.
Yeah.
Like, really, because you gotta listen to what they really saying. Like, I don't think everybody done really shot somebody or, you know, but hey, that's what people like to hear. Like,
I'm saying 90-10.
Really? Where's the line in terms of artistic expression in something like that?
So you can have your artistic expression all you want as long as you don't commit a crime.
He knows enough to know they're gang members.
Assistant District Attorney Takesha Fitzgerald is part of Knox County, Tennessee's career gang unit. She's not shy about presenting lyrics in court, like the lines in this music video from a murder trial in 2018.
Some 27-4, but I'm 4 below.
She says lyrics and videos are fair game, only if they're relevant.
Is that fair?
I look at it as an admission. If you're rapping about how to make crack cocaine and you end up getting charged, and we have a video of you rapping about making crack cocaine and making crack cocaine on video, then yes.
Do you think race plays a role?
I don't think race has anything to do with it, but I think it has to do with people perceiving this gang life as an answer to violence.
They shouldn't use rap lyrics against us in court.
For years, Bay Area rap legend E-40 has fought what he sees as a double standard on hip-hop.
It's to be respected and protected. You don't see this happening in any other genre of music, country music, pop.
Do you get nervous then for that next generation of artists?
Things I said when I was young, I wouldn't say now. But you want to continue to speak out and be who you are, but at the same time, it can come back and bite you. That's why these rules need to be changed.
And in California, the rules are changing. The state recently passed a law that limits how artistic expressions, like rap lyrics, can become evidence. While the law doesn't ban the use of lyrics,
Congrats, guys.
it requires a judge to sign off before they can be introduced. Similar bills are being pushed in New York and on the federal level. And Kevin Liles is pushing a petition to protect artists, with celebrities and record labels voicing their support, including Young Thug from jail.
I always use my music as a form of artistic expression. And now I see that black artists, rappers, don't have that, freedom.
What I'm fighting for is etched in stone on the Supreme Court, equal justice under the law. Mm-hmm. So it's equality. It's in the Constitution. Freedom of speech, all these things. Mm-hmm. If you sit and think this is just about rap music or think it's just about lyrics or think it's just about hip hop, it's not.
Coming up next, Roy Wood Jr. with his mic drop, a cost-saving solution to police brutality.
My name is Roy Wood Jr., and for this month's mic drop, in the wake of the brutal death of Tyree Nichols, I want to talk about saving money. We all love saving money. We try to save money on travel, save money on gas, save money on eggs. But I want to talk this time about saving money with regards to police reform. Many municipalities prioritize funding law enforcement over other sectors of their city. Sectors like education, employment, infrastructure. And they're strapped for cash, so these cities lean on police departments to pull people over and enforce traffic laws and write citations. Citations, mind you, that end up funding up to 40% of the annual budget in some of these places. And then a lot of that money is in turn allocated right back into law enforcement. Cops have quotas for a reason. Now, some of these cities are trying to tighten the screws on how much money they spend on law enforcement because, they want to save a little money. They're cracking down on a lot of different places. Last year, over 40 California Highway Patrol officers were charged with overtime fraud from lying repeatedly about hours they worked. And a captain in the NYPD was forced into early retirement for the exact same thing. And these victories, they're touted as cleaning up corruption within a department, which it does. But if we're talking about really cleaning up a department and saving money, there's an easier way. In 2021 and 2022 combined, the NYPD paid out $180 million in police misconduct settlements. And that number's high. It's crazy to think that a department with a projected operating budget of around $5 billion for the next fiscal year, $180 million ain't nothing to them. That's probably sustainable for them, but not for smaller towns. And if politicians in these places are serious about reducing police misconduct, then they should start by taking a closer look at the jumping off point for many of these incidents, the traffic stop. But it's hard for a lot of these politicians to turn their eyes away from the necessity of a traffic stop because it is the traffic stop itself that is helping them to keep the lights on. But it is also the same traffic stop that is helping citizens get abused. It's helping citizens get hit with excessive fines and fees that only go to pay the legal settlements levied against officers who do misconduct. Cities and towns have to stop being dependent upon traffic stops as a revenue generator. Traffic stops only create an atmosphere where harassment can occur and subsequently expensive lawsuit settlements. Now, don't get me wrong, traffic stops do lead to the apprehension of dangerous criminals, but they can also end up deadly for the officers, abusive for the citizens, or at its best, expensive for the citizens and costly for the government that has to foot the bill for expensive lawsuits. And if you ask any police officer who joined the force to actually do some good, I'm betting money that most of them did not want to join the force to become a bill collector for the county. Watch any cop action movie. They ain't writing tickets. It's not a TV show about traffic cops. It's boring, and they don't want to do it.
Police, out of the car now.
Even if you can't agree on the morals of police reform, taking a closer look at traffic stops and their costliness is just smart business. And I think we'd all love to save a little money, right?
Next month on America in Black. Black hair and freedom from discrimination.
How sad that we actually even have to have an act that says it's okay for you to wear your hair how it naturally grows out of your head. Like, we have to have a law about that? That in order for you to be able to do your job, that my hair is going to impede me from doing.
The Fight for the Crown Act.
Wear your hair in ways that our ancestors have worn it for generations. Wear your hair, which is a point of pride. Passing a bill through Congress will not only change the law, It'll send a message that we as Americans understand that there are different hair textures.
Plus, we examine the state of Black love.
At this point in my life, I am single by choice. I will tell anybody, do not come in here and disrupt my peace. If you're not gonna protect my peace and preserve my peace, I'm not interested. Some trying to get us to rethink or think differently about Black love, be more inclusive of what Black love actually means.
Would it be nice in your world, in your view, to have a partner?
Absolutely. And a Gayle King Spotlight interview. All that and more on the next episode of America in Black.